Hi class, I'm recording this video to introduce you to week 3, where we're focusing on the industry analysis. So here is the template that you will be using. I clarified in an announcement email earlier this week, but just to clarify, so this template is meant to guide you, but please don't submit it within the boxes. I recommend using it here, writing with each inbox to make sure that you cover everything that's required in these sections, but then copy and paste kind of whatever you write in here in a regular Word document. So we're going outside of the boxes, so you have your full paper ready. That is what I meant by submitting the narrative, not the template. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you submit the template, it's fine, but we're trying to format APA style. Besides that, we're following single spacing because it just looks more professional when we have single spacing in a business report. Okay, so this week we're focusing on the industry analysis. So please start building up again, somebody else emailed me about that. The idea is that you build up your report so you don't have to go back and format at the end and create everything. So again, have your cover page, have your table of contents that will have to be updated every time. Table of figures needs to be updated, list of tables if you have, and so forth. So for this week, we're focusing on the industry analysis. The main sections that we'll cover start with the NAICS code. Hopefully you have reviewed the HANA library resources that I shared last week, I think, or maybe it was in the beginning of the class. So we will have to use Esri IBIS World for this weeks heavily. And it's very important to try to find the author of the report. So when you look at the report, often it's not like clear always, but in most cases there is an author. So instead of referencing Esri 2026, we'll reference Lee 2026, right? So look for the name of the author. That's the correct way for APA referencing. Okay. So we start with the NAICS code and the industry description. So cite the NAICS code and a brief industry description. Then we get into more kind of the details. So we think about what is this industry. We need to do significant research to kind of shape the external environment picture, and then we'll get more into what our business offers as we get into the competitive analysis. So we're going to explore the size, trend, and maturity of the industry. So it is expected that you provide charts for those. They are easily available once you log in and explore the reports. Again, it's great to look at the industry size in terms of what are the numbers and what are the projections for the future as well. And then we get into the seasonality and sensitivity analysis. I have those in the slides, so please make sure that you review the lecture slides and of course read your chapters. You have the quizzes as well. So how is the industry that you're in varying in terms of seasonality? And that's typically within the year, but then it can also have seasonality, I don't know, within the week. Like if you're a restaurant, for example, or a coffee shop, well, restaurant probably more than coffee shops, you'll be busier Friday and Saturday night, right? So later on, when you're thinking about your operations, you have to take those into consideration. For now, we're just seeing what is happening in the industry. Is there seasonality generally in the big picture? What are some of the patterns? Again, this will be more important for 499 when you get into the operations. And then sensitivity to industry economic cycle. I mean, currently where the economy is, there is price increase, gas prices, and all of that. If there's an unstable economy, that inevitably impacts a lot of businesses, not all. But let's say if you are, again, a restaurant, probably there will be drop in your customer base. If people don't have enough money, they might not go out to eat that much. Or if your business is a yoga studio, maybe people will cut that, and so forth. So sensitivity to the industry economic cycle is this next subsection. Then we get into the macro environment, or what is called the pastel factors. By the way, I updated this guide here slightly, just the wording, nothing else had changed. Just I think there was some old one which somehow ended in the class, so the word pastel wasn't there. But in my slides, again, I talk about the pastel factors, political, environmental, social, technological, economic, and legal. So you have to talk about each of those and address all 6 of these trends. What is happening politically, economically, socially, etc. Thinking about in the industry, right? In your industry, are there any global industry concerns? I mean, there are a lot of things happening currently right now in terms of tariffs and taxes and gas prices and all of that. And what are the key factors for the future success of the industry? So identify some of those key factors. So and don't forget to put your references definitely within the text, in text references, and then the reference list. So let's take a look at the provided examples. Again, they are on Moodle to put this into more kind of tangible form. So you can see the first one that we looked at. Again, include the industry description briefly. What is the next code you have to find? And then we get into the size of the industry. So make sure that you include a graph like that talking about the revenue. Then here I have another one. And then we get into some of the other trends in terms of maturity. So make sure you see where your industry is in terms of maturity. So have that graph. Very common mistake. I think I talked about that already. Figure should be on one line, bold. The figure title should be under in italics. So format that according to APA style. Then discussion on the seasonality and the economic cycle. So you can see that. And then getting into the pastel, political, economic, etc. factors. And then lastly, the key factors for success. And here's the other example that I shared. Follows very similar format. First discussion of kind of broadly what is the description of the industry with the NAICS code, and then we get into the size, trend, maturity. So you can see here the revenue. Those are very easy once you get your kind of research going. Then we get to the maturity. Again, you always include the text first. So tell the reader what it is and then provide the graph. Don't start with the graph because then the reader is like, what is this graph? So we always first tell and then show. So this is the discussion on the coffee shop here, the crafting industry. And then we get into the seasonality, economic cycle. So you can see here there are some projections where things are going into 2030. And then we get into the pastel analysis, the political factors, the economic, etc. And lastly, the key factors for success. So this section is really not difficult. Once you find the 1 or 2 good reports, you just have to summarize it, obviously professionally. Always use your best draft. We call it a draft, but it should be as complete as possible so that you don't have much revision. So make sure that you read all the chapters that are here in the overview. And then I'm asking you to post your industry analysis paper on here for me to provide feedback. But then I'm also asking you to provide it here so that you're providing feedback to each other. So this is due next week. By Wednesday, so you have a few days after, so that everybody will get feedback from me and from classmates. And from what I've heard from students, it's very useful to kind of see what others are writing about, what to do and what not to do sometimes. So please post in both places. And don't forget to do your weekly learning journal, again, reflecting what you learned each week. So this weekly learning journal will be on what you learned from the feedback that I provide for week 2. And then in week 4 and 5 will be based on the feedback I provide you for this week, the industry analysis, and so forth. So again, review all the materials that are here and always feel free to reach out with any questions. That's all. Have a great week, and I will record a short video like that for week 4 and 5. Have a good day, week, weekend, depending on when you watch the video.